Hi, St. Louis. Welcome to Live with Laura. I'm your host, Laura Hettiger. I'm very excited about this conversation today because I think it's going to be a conversation that a lot of you can empathize with. If you are a woman or a mom of a little girl, a stepmom, a grandma, you probably had one point either in your life or seeing it through the eyes of that little girl where you discovered the ballet. There's just something so magical about the ballet. Maybe you saw the Nutcracker and you looked up at the ballerinas on that stage and you just thought, they are so perfect, they're elegant, they are everything, and they are. And now it begs the question, how did they get to where they are being on that stage? That is what the focus of today is all about. I am thrilled to be joined by our guest, Lori Wilson, a ballerina with the St. Louis Ballet. Lori, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited about this.
I'm excited too. I've been lucky to get to know you through Great Day St. Louis and My St. Louis Live over the years. And when I found out that the St. Louis Ballet was doing a special new ballet for Valentine's Day, I knew you would be a great guest, especially in the lead up to this show. So hopefully more people get tickets and go see it.
Please, yes, please come see the show.
What is this ballet?
So we are doing 4 different ballets on the program. It is really a celebration of our director. It is his 25th season with the company. So I think of this show as really a celebration of him and his tenure with the company. He has brought in Peter Martin's ballets, which was his boss when he was dancing at New York City Ballet. So we are doing 2 Peter Martin's ballets. We're doing 1 Christopher Wheeldon pas de deux that is just so beautiful and mesmerizing. And if you don't know Chris Wheeldon, he is an Emmy or Tony Award winning choreographer. He's choreographed for Broadway. He is probably one of the best choreographers of the 21st century. So it's really exciting that we get to do his works. And then, of course, our director has choreographed a ballet called Saint Louis Blues. It really is a celebration, I think, of St. Louis and the music that St. Louis is known for. It's so beautiful. And we also have Denise Times singing with us, which is one of my favorite aspects of this ballet, is hearing her sing.
It's called Call It Love.
Call It Love.
So is there a love story woven in with it being Valentine's Day?
Definitely within St. Louis Blues. That's the last ballet on the program. There is kind of a love story, and I think human stories, just stories of different kinds of relationships, new relationships, old established relationships, maybe relationships with a little turmoil. Mm-hmm. So you get to kind of see that throughout the ballet. And then I think the pas de deux is romantic in its own way. It's also just very mesmerizing. You know, you kind of sit back as an audience member and watch the dancers perform, and it's just very, it takes you to like a very peaceful place.
What I think is interesting about this, just as a general audience member who's maybe more used to one show at a time, the fact that there are 4 ballets where if you buy 1 ticket, you can see all 4 different stories unfold. How long are each of these?
They are all varying degrees of about 20 minutes,
okay.
Maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. And then St. Louis Blues runs, I think, about 40 minutes.
And what one are you in?
St. Louis Blues.
So this is probably even the wrong character, is probably not the right word. What is your role in St. Louis Blues?
So there's 2 lead couples, and then there's 4 sort of demi couples, and I'm one of the demi couples. I think that our story, at least in my own head, this is not what my director told me, so don't take this for, this is what it is. But in my head, we're kind of the established love story. We're the ones who have been married for a long time. We have a very stable, happy relationship, and that's what I'm trying to bring to the character on stage.
And that is something I think most of us would aspire to be the one who's settled, the one who is happy. And that's kind of a nice transition into finding out more about your background, because you are settled, you are happy, you are established in a career that is so unusually unique to so many people. let's talk about how you got to where you are. Where are you from? When did you start dancing?
I'm originally from Lubbock, Texas, so I'm a Texas girl. I started dancing, I was 6 years old. My mom took my sister's 4 years older, took us to see the Nutcracker in our hometown, and all I could talk about the rest of December and into January was how I wanted to be Clara, and when do I get to like do ballet classes? Mom, please put me in ballet, please put me in ballet. So she finally put me in ballet, and I never looked back. I loved it.
Have you ever thought over the years, what if your mom didn't get you tickets to that show?
Occasionally, yes. Yes, for sure. I just think everything happens for a reason, though, so I'm really grateful that we had that. And I guess I had a moment when I was 11 that I didn't love my ballet teacher. She was really tough on me, which ballet teachers are supposed to be, but I maybe didn't know that. And I wanted to quit every day. I was also doing gymnastics, and I loved gymnastics. And so I wanted to quit. And my mom was like, okay, well, we paid for the year, so you have to stick it out until recital. And then after recital, if you want to quit, we don't have to do it again next year. And thank goodness she did, because, of course, I got on stage and was like, oh, I love this so much. Like, I don't want to quit. Thank you for not letting me quit. I want to perform again. I can't wait to get on stage. So I think since that point in time, stage has always been the place that I'm always the most excited about. I'm always the most excited to get on stage and perform, and there's just something so exhilarating about that you can't mimic in anything else in life.
No, it's everything you work for. I'm sure even now, do you still get butterflies when you step onto the stage?
Not when I step onto, before I step onto. Usually when I step onto, it's almost like, in like the movies where things go like foggy and you're kind of in your own world. It almost feels that way when you step on stage, because I have been doing this for a long time, so I do feel very comfortable on our stage, and it feels exciting, and it feels like almost peaceful sometimes once I step on stage. But before that, like all the lead up to it, you're nervous, you have butterflies, and then you get on stage and it just feels like the reward for everything you've worked towards.
As a parent, I'm happy to hear that you have made a career out of something you started at the age of 6, because I think in today's world, we are inundated. Well, if you don't have your child starting something when they're 2, 3, 4, 5, they're going to miss the boat. It's all behind them. You started out as a power tumbler.
Yes.
I'm guessing ballet helped with that, though.
I think so. I think they both really helped for each thing. So with power tumbling, because you power tumbled,
yes.
So we talked about that. So you know about power tumbling. It is really good for. I discovered this after I broke my 5th metatarsal. It's really good for your bones to have impact. So as a power tumbler, I think it was really good growing up that it gave me strong bones. So I did get like my point shoes in ballet maybe earlier than some other young dancers, because I had very strong ankles, because I was jumping on the trampoline and I was tumbling down the track. So I think that they both helped each other a lot. And I think with gymnastics and ballet, like partnering, I love doing exciting, fun partnering things, and I'm not as timid as maybe some of my peers, especially growing up, because I was already doing flip-flops and backflips and double backs. So like being tossed in the air was fun for me and not something that I was afraid to do.
Yeah, you had been up many, many times twisting around.
Yeah.
I'm glad you also brought up the fact of point shoes. I always called them toe shoes, so point shoes.
Point shoes.
You are not putting those things on 7- and 8-year-old little girls.
Oh no. There's a pretty rigorous training and rigorous, like we make sure as their teachers, I also teach that their ankles are strong enough, and of course they're young, so things are still developing. But if they have the right flexibility and the right strength in their technical class, they're able to go onto point shoes. But I would say I started when I was 10, and that's very young. I would not recommend most dancers start at 10. I think like 11, 12 is a pretty standard age, but we don't base it just on age.
So for the little ones who are wearing the ballet slippers, what are some of the things that girls and boys learn in those early dance classes?
I think the main thing that they're learning when they're really little, now I didn't take classes when I was that little, so I don't know for sure, and I don't teach that age. But I think they're really just learning coordination, a little bit of musicality, how to kind of move with the music. It's really interesting. My nieces dance as well, and so skipping is really hard for little kids, which is really entertaining to watch them try to figure out how to move their body. So I think a lot of it is just like figuring out, okay, she put her arm there, now I'm going to put my arm here, and a little bit more like monkey see, monkey do. Yeah.
And kids are so good at that. I even notice my little ones, when I do, I don't know, a silly move, they try to copy that. My parents put me in tumbling when I was 3, and it was not with the intention of becoming this awesome tumbler. It was more almost the intangibles of listening to other adults, following directions, waiting my turn. And I'm guessing those are some things that the littler kids learn too, that honestly are really important life skills.
Yes, those can be really valuable skills. I love that you started when you were 3. I started when I was 2, and my parents put me in it not for those reasons, which are all such valid reasons, but it was because I was climbing on things, and they wanted to make sure I knew how to like safely get down and fall, and that is the first thing you learn as a gymnast. They call it a safety rule. So I think my parents were like, oh, okay, she'll be okay.
So I'm guessing now every time you fall, you're never putting your arms down to catch yourself.
No, I'm always tucking my chin.
Yes, exactly. So yes, they wanted, if you were going to be flipping off the couches, to know how to do it.
Yes.
A lot of my friends were the exact same way. So 2 years old, you are in tumbling. Did you compete in that?
I did, very seriously, actually. I feel weird saying this. So I was a gymnast until I was 13. That's when I decided to kind of switch routes and stick to just ballet. But when I was 11 years old, I competed in the World Championships in South Africa, which was really cool.
Lori, this is amazing.
Thank you. Long story short, I was competing in synchronized trampoline. And there was another 2 girls competing from my same gym, and one partner got injured and my partner got injured. So, but you have to like make so many points to get onto the world's team, and we were both really close, and I think we could combine our points if we ended up like competing as a synchro team together. So we never competed together. We did the team trials. Somehow we qualified. It was so incredible. And then we went to South Africa and we competed, and there were 2 U.S. teams. I was 11, and my partner, because of the circumstances, was actually 17. So I had to compete in the 17 and over age group at 11, and I was pretty much the height I am now, so like 5'5", and my partner was like 5'8", which makes it very hard
to do everything at the exact same time.
To stay together. So we ended up placing 11th in the world. We just missed finals, which was kind of disappointing, but we also were the first team in the U.S., so it was really cool.
Yes, it's very cool, because at 11, you shouldn't have the skill set that the 17-year-olds have. They have so many more years of doing tumbling and trampoline. And again, the height difference. So did you continue competing after that experience?
I did continue competing. I also struggled a lot with, I was afraid to flip backwards, which is not great as a gymnast. So I had some mental things to overcome. Like when Simone Biles had her twisties, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that, somebody on that world stage is expressing that and also struggling with that, because I remember struggling with that when I was really little, and I was like, oh, I feel so validated, and then I think when I was 13, it was like both things were becoming I was becoming very serious in both of them, and they were taking up a lot more time. So it was like I had to decide. And I felt with ballet there was a lot more opportunity for growth, and it felt like there was, like, it would never end. There was never, you can never be flexible enough. You can never be, you can never jump high enough. You can never do too many turns in ballet. You can never develop your artistry. You can't overdevelop your artistry. So I felt like there was a lot more room for growth as a ballet dancer than a gymnast. This was just my personal take. And I decided, I think I want to be a ballerina. And my parents were like, okay, how do we get you to be a ballerina? Yeah.
And I think that's where it makes sense to take a pause, because we are going to pick up on that part of Lori's story when we come back. Not only how do you become a ballerina, but also how you stay a ballerina. 18 years as a professional dancer for the Saint Louis Ballet, which not only requires a lot of skill, but a lot of devotion, a lot of drive, and a lot of discipline. The 3 Ds right there. We'll get into that and much more with Lori Wilson, who you can catch on stage at the Two Hill this weekend for Call It Love, a brand new ballet that is debuting just in time for Valentine's Day. You are watching Live with Laura. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live with Laura. I'm Laura Hettiger, joined by Lori Wilson with the St. Louis Ballet Company. And I feel like through you, I'm kind of getting to vicariously live out so many little girls' dreams, a professional ballerina here with us. Thank you for giving us so much of your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
So right before the commercial, you mentioned that you had a heart-to-heart with your parents on saying, I think I want to move forward with becoming a ballerina, a professional dancer, because there's no limit to what you can do with that. You are never going to say, okay, I can't learn another skill. How did your parents take that? Did you talk about career paths, college? Please tell us that story.
A little bit. So I was really lucky. My parents were extremely supportive, and they were always all in with anything I wanted to do. I was driving the boat. I was the one who wanted to do everything. So as a young dancer, we go to something called summer intensives. It's like anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks of a summer program where you're really focusing on dance and ballet, but you're also learning other disciplines of dance, and there's sometimes conditioning or Pilates included in that. And so I had been doing that since I was 10, my first summer program when I was 10, and a lot of that was researching, what company I liked, what school I liked. So I went to the Rock School, which is a school in Philadelphia, and I really wanted to stay year-round. I did not get in my first summer for the year-round program. I was devastated, so I auditioned again. I went the next summer. I did get in for the year-round program, but my parents did not let me go. They thought I was too young. It was my junior year of high school, and they were not ready, I think, to let me. I felt like I was ready, but I think they were like, no, you need another year at home. And then finally, my senior year, my mom had been chaperoning at the Rock, so she had met a lot of the faculty and a lot of the staff. So finally, my senior year, I got in, and my parents let me go, and my mom felt very comfortable sending me because she knew everybody at that point. So I trained at the Rock School my senior year of high school. And then I did a little bit of company auditions that year. I didn't really get anything, but I don't think I auditioned as much as I should have. And I did get into a very prestigious summer intensive in upstate New York. And I did not think I was going to get into this program. We were talking on the break about how, when you don't think you're going to get something and you just kind of go for it and it goes really well. That's how it felt for this summer intensive audition. I was like, this is so prestigious, I'm not going to get in. But I went to the audition because my friend was nervous. She wanted support. And so I did that audition. I ended up getting in, and I thought that hopefully maybe they would ask me to stay as like an apprentice for their company, because there was a company attached to the school. They did not. So I spent 8 weeks in upstate New York, like performing, and it was such a great experience, but I didn't get into the program. And then I was like, well, now what do I do? So luckily the Rock School was like, you can come back for another year of training, which I think was a really good thing. And then I did extensive company auditions. This was before like YouTube and things like that. So I had to like burn it onto a CD and mail out all of my audition tapes. And And a lot of companies don't respond to you, so you don't even know if they received your package. A lot of people will say no. You will follow up and you still won't hear anything. You have no idea if they've received your package. And one of the auditions I did was for St. Louis Ballet. I sent a video, and turns out that my director, or again, my current director, knew one of my teachers at the Rock. And my sister happened to be teaching at the Rock School at the time, and she said, what company are you auditioning for that Chris would know? He was my teacher at the Rock School. And I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe St. Louis Ballet. That director, danced at New York City Ballet. And she was like, well, he just gave you the best glowing review I've ever heard. And I was like, oh, that's exciting. And so Gen invited me to come audition for the company. He stood behind me at bar, which is unheard of, that the director will take class with you when you're auditioning. I've never been so nervous. And I did have a very good audition class, which was a relief, but I was just like shaking the whole time. And immediately after that audition, Gen offered me a contract for the company. And inside I was like so excited. I think I was 19, and you're trying to be very professional and, kind of keep it together. But I was like, I can't wait to call my mom and tell her I got a job. I finally got a job, because I'd been auditioning since January, and this was in June, I believe. So that's how I got my job here.
But it shows how determined you were. And especially, it's one thing if you're told no, then you can say, okay, closure, I'm done, move on. But to not know about so many other places and keep wondering, is today the day I'm going to check my email or check the mail or get the phone call? And then to have the artistic director standing right behind you. Oh my gosh, so many emotions, and the poise you had to have to keep your composure during that stressful situation and not just kind of mentally explode at the pressure that's there.
I think it was a good lesson in being a ballerina in that moment of what pressure you might face and how you'll handle it.
Discipline keeps coming to mind. Please tell me about the discipline that you have learned throughout your life, that gymnastics, that trampoline, and also going away your senior year of high school. All of these things require you to be incredibly disciplined and put some of the more fun things in life on the back burner.
That's very true. It takes a lot of discipline. I think a lot of perseverance, a lot of resilience, because you're going to hear a lot of no. There's going to be a lot of people that tell you you can't do it, you won't be able to do it, you won't make it. So it feels really gratifying to have had a career this long, especially for the people who told me I couldn't. But that has driven me my whole life. I almost thrive off of somebody telling me you can't, and I just want to be like, oh, hide and watch. I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove you wrong. Yes, and so discipline is a lot, and discipline is a spectrum, I think, sometimes, because it's hard to just be 100% disciplined all the time. But I think a lot of it is consistency. So, being consistent in going to class, in cross-training, and taking care of your body, getting a lot of rest. And it can be hard sometimes because, you want to have fun and you want to live your life. But I think the passion that I feel for ballet and performing has almost always overridden all of the other things that I've wanted to do.
And I think it's really nice for you. We have these similarities that you have a sister 4 years older. My sister's 3 years older. And my sister kind of paved the way for me in cheerleading, whereas yours was in dance. I'm guessing you had a built-in sounding board for a lot of the things that you were going through.
Yes. Oh, I was so lucky. My sister actually lived with me in Philadelphia when I was auditioning for companies. And I did have a total meltdown one day. And I remember my sister calling my mom, and I heard her. We lived in an apartment about as big as this room, maybe smaller, actually. together with your sister, so you can imagine the fights. You have a sister. But I remember her calling my mom, and I'm just hysterical because I've heard no for the millionth time. You don't think you're good enough. I'm just devastated. I'm like, is this ever going to work out? I'm trying so hard, and it's not coming to fruition. And I just remember my sister on the phone like, Mom, what do I do? And I just remember crying. And I was very lucky to have my sister there with me to support me and to encourage me. She was a blessing for sure.
And your parents too, for your parents to literally take kind of the kid gloves off of you a year before most parents do, whether a child goes to college, the workforce, or the military. It's usually 18 years old, end of your senior year. They make that transition. For you to be asking when I'm guessing you're 15, 16 as a junior, and then be told yes at 16, 17 as a senior, kudos to your parents, because I don't know, I think I would want to ensure that my kids stay home with me as long as it's normally possible.
Thank you. Yes. No, my parents were just so amazing. I remember my last summer when I was at the Rock, there's always like performances that they do kind of at the end as the culmination. So you get to rehearse throughout the summer intensive. And my mom said that my dad was sitting there and like, I hope he's not embarrassed that I'm saying this, but there was like a little tear in his eye, and he was like, this is what she's meant to do. And I kind of argued with my dad a little bit that going to the Rock was going to be much like my college education, because I wanted to be a ballerina. And my dad always said he would pay for my college. And I was like, but this is my college, because this is like the training that I need in order to get a professional job. Like, I need this on my resume. I need these teachers. I need this school. I need this experience for people to take me seriously when I'm auditioning for their company. So luckily my dad bought that argument and was like, okay.
Yes, 18 years later that you've been a professional dancer, I think you were spot on. I hope this conversation is viewed not only by parents, but maybe some younger women, younger girls. So if you wouldn't mind, please take me back to when you were a tumbler, a ballerina. You had these big dreams. You were putting everything into it. I'm a girl, you're a girl. Girls can be mean, they can be catty, things can be said when maybe there's some jealousy involved. Were there any times, and I know there were, that some of the friends you thought you had maybe weren't, and you had to figure out how to still go to school, get along with them, but stay true to who you are to live out your dream?
You know, I've been really lucky. I don't know that I've ever really experienced that kind of level.
Good.
But I will say, you know, within the company or even a training school atmosphere, everybody wants to be the star. You know, everybody wants to do the lead role. And so I think there's this understanding amongst us that once the casting comes out, you support each other and you encourage each other. And of course, we're all competing kind of for the same spots. And of course, there's jealousy that's kind of like, it sits down deep. But I think we also respect the decision of our director, and we respect each other as performers and artists and athletes, that there was kind of a level of like, well, it wasn't up to say somebody got a role over me. It wasn't their choice to get that role. They were the choice from the director. So if I have an issue, like, I will go talk to my director, and I try not to bring that into the room. It can be difficult though, because you want to be the star. You want to be doing these leading roles. But I think, too, it's really important to know that at the end of the day, we're all trying to put on a really good show for our audience. And whatever decision is made at the front of the room is, you know, the right decision for the company. And we should all support that vision and try to do our best with what we're given.
Especially the ballet at this level, it's kind of the ultimate team sport. No longer are you in power tumbling, where it's you and the judges, you're on a team, but it's truly you. So you do work with these people each and every day, and you don't want that animosity getting into the overall outcome for the audience.
Exactly. And like I said, it can be hard, and I think we're all humans, so there's days that are harder for me and for my peers, and I think we can all understand that as their peer and their coworker, like, okay, today is maybe not like their best day. I can respect that, and I can not take that personally. But sometimes it's hard, because if you as a dancer or performer, you think you're right for a role and then you don't get it, it's kind of like you question, why didn't I get it? Am I not good enough? But luckily I've been doing this for a long time, and I've also I've choreograph my own ballets, and a lot of the time it's not personal. It really is just like what is best for the ballet at that moment.
So now that it is your career, your full-time job, what is a normal day in the life of a professional dancer like?
I think it depends on the dancer. So I do a lot of cross training. I like cross training. I like going to the gym. So usually I'll spend about an hour in the morning before class doing some kind of cross training, swimming, yoga. I weightlift. I really like weightlifting. We all kind of choose like what works best for us as far as that. And then we have an hour and a half of class from 10 to 11:30, Tuesday through Friday. Saturday we start a little bit later, but we still have class. So class is kind of like our warm-up, our meditation. It's time to check in with your technique, your precision of your movements. You start out slow, you start to move bigger, so you get sort of prepared for the day. And then we have rehearsals the rest of the day, depending on what ballet we're working on. So you could be rehearsing the whole day, you could have an hour of rehearsal, you could be off. It just sort of depends on the needs of the current ballet.
I'm envisioning, though, okay, you get up in the morning, you go to the gym, you go to class for an hour and a half, then it's rehearsal. Do you ever sit down?
Yes.
Thank goodness.
You will always find a ballerina on the floor.
Okay, good.
We don't usually sit in chairs. I think we have a 30-minute lunch break, 1:15 usually to 1:45. Sometimes that changes. And then a lot of us have second jobs. So a lot of us we work until 4:45, I think is our last rehearsal block. And then a lot of people will go to second jobs. I teach in the school. A lot of people will host, waitress, receptionist. So we work really hard.
It sounds like it. Is this year-round? Are there busy seasons?
There are busy seasons. We're usually off kind of in the summer. I feel like our season runs kind of like a school year, August to May. This year we're going until June, which is a little later for us, so that's exciting. And then we have off weeks like throughout that as well. We have some time off for Christmas. We have like a spring break that we have. So we have time off as well.
So if life happens, say your sister's getting married or your best friend is having a baby, whatever the case may be, can you take time off to go celebrate those life moments?
You can. It also depends on timing. So if there's a show, I personally wouldn't want to miss a show because we don't perform as much as maybe some other like bigger companies. So any opportunity I have to be on stage, I really want to be on stage. But it's kind of a case-by-case situation. You have to request off like any job, and again can say no, like I need you here. So it just it depends on the timing. And a lot of our, I would say, friends and family know our schedule and understand that. So if it's something really important, they will very kindly usually work around our schedule.
And it makes sense. My family, there are a lot of educators in it. So you would never plan a big family vacation or a wedding during the school year because they're typically off during the summer months. One of my friends was a trainer in professional baseball. So same thing, you're not going to have a big wedding anytime this season is happening. And I understand you have had a wedding.
Oh, yes.
You are married?
I am married. I've been married for 3 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
To a St. Louisan.
He is originally from Tulsa, but he grew up in St. Louis.
And is he in dance?
No, he's not.
So how was that, meeting someone in a not only completely different field, but I'm guessing a different lifestyle too?
Yes. Most of the time it's really amazing. Sometimes it can get difficult because our schedules don't always align. But we met, he actually knew some of the dancers in the company before I joined. So he was kind of like already in with the dancers, and we just met at like a friend's, house party when I first joined the company, actually. So we've been together for a really long time.
Do you ever bounce ideas off him as far as dance is concerned? Like you come up with a new combo in your head, or you're practicing a piece that's going to be in the show and ask his feedback on how it looks?
Yes, he knows all the inside scoop. He's probably sick of talking about ballet.
And you teach it too.
I teach as well.
And what age of kids do you teach?
I usually teach like from 10 to, I also teach our trainees, and I think our trainees go up to 23.
Oh, wow. And how often are you teaching?
I'm not teaching as much as I used to, mostly because my company schedule has gotten pretty demanding. So I teach on Monday nights, but I also teach the trainees. I teach their conditioning class on Wednesdays.
So how about this? We take our final commercial break. When we come back, we are going to find out more about maybe you have a child who is interested in ballet and what they can expect if they get started taking classes anywhere in the area, and then eventually go to the St. Louis Ballet, because I'm guessing you don't just take the babies, right?
We do.
You do?
We do. We have a Mommy and Me class.
Okay, well, my daughter, Ella Bells, I'm going to sign you up. It's going to be great. We'll be right back. We are talking to Lori Wilson on Live with Laura. It has been a treat being on Live with Laura with Lori. It should be Live with Laura and Lori today. Lori Wilson of the St. Louis Ballet. 18 years with the St. Louis Ballet for you. And what's interesting is you've been there through most of Gin Horiuchi's, your director's, tenure. You would have to now know almost what he's going to say before he says it, I would assume.
Sometimes he'll still surprise me.
But it's a really big deal that he has been with the St. Louis Ballet for a quarter of a century.
It's incredible, yeah, and I'm really honored to have been part of most of that.
So he is the director for normal people outside of ballet. What exactly does that mean?
So he is our artistic and executive director. So he is, he's doing a lot. He's doing a lot of the business side of things, but he's also in the studio with us. He choreographs. He is, in charge of casting the ballets, picking what ballets we perform every season. He's the man in charge of everything, basically. He's running the show, but he does have a good support system as well. So, yeah, he does a lot.
And this weekend, all of you are going to be doing a lot because you have a brand new show about to hit the stage at the Two Hill called Call It Love.
Yes.
Just in time for Valentine's Day. You have a show on Saturday and on Sunday.
Yes, we have 2 shows Saturday and 1 Sunday.
So you must be, come Sunday night, I would assume you're physically and emotionally tired.
Yeah, there's always, I call it like the post-show depression.
I would think. So after the lights are off, the toe shoes are off, how do you recharge?
I really like to take a hot bath, relax my body, get in bed early, have a nice meal. I'll usually eat, something that is very filling, especially because when we're at the theater, we don't have as much time to sit down and eat a meal, and you don't want to dance on a completely full stomach. Yeah, that's how I like to relax.
Or an empty stomach, I would assume.
Oh, no.
So
no, because that would hurt so bad.
Yes. So what is your go-to breakfast or lunch on a show day?
Well, my go-to breakfast, I usually do avocado toast with a fried egg, and I might add a turkey sausage with that and spinach. And then the company is so kind that they do provide meals for us. So we get meals from Revel, from Garbanzo, from Crazy Bowls. So usually kind of thinking more like rice and protein, a little bit of carb, and then a little bit of veggies.
St. Louis, I like that there are partnerships with all the different restaurants you just mentioned. St. Louis in general, though, is really supportive of the arts. 25 years of the St. Louis Ballet. The Muni is now on season 5,050, it feels like. And they are amazing. They just won a Tony last year. Stages, St. Louis, the Fox. I know you're not from St. Louis, but when you did move here, did you have any idea of our art scene?
I didn't actually. I really solely moved here because I got a job here, and I was so excited to have been offered a professional job dancing. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
What has kept you with the St. Louis Ballet?
A lot of it is the opportunities. Again, with his connections in the field, he brings in world-class choreographers. I've danced ballets by Twyla Tharp, Jerome Robbins, George Balanchine. If you know anything about dance, you know these names, and they're all, major players. I've danced Christopher Wheeldon works, and that's just such an honor. So he brings in really, really amazing world-class repertoire for his dancers to perform, and he's putting on, incredible productions. So it's really an honor to be a part of that. And, I hope that St. Louis sees what a gem, the St. Louis Ballet is to have kind of in your own backyard. We're at the Two Hills, so we're really easy to get to, and our shows are affordable, and they're really spectacular.
What I love about sitting across from you, hearing you talk about your career, is that you are still excited for it. Your first introduction was at 6 years old with the Nutcracker, but still, all these years later, it doesn't seem like you have any intentions of slowing down.
No, I love it so much. There's, like I said earlier, there's just nothing like getting on stage and performing. And to see also like my students and even my peers, who many of them are a bit younger than me, to see them growing and improving in their artistry and their dancing, and to see them tackling roles that I have done and roles that, my peers who have retired did. It's just such an incredible career, and it is, it's never ending in that way, to see the young girls who look up to us and, want to also do this as a career. It's really cool, and it's so beautiful. It's such an incredible art form, and it's also always evolving. I mean, it's always getting better. It's kind of like they say in sports too. It's like there's always somebody better. There's always somebody younger, better coming up, and that is really true with ballet. But I think, as somebody who's been in the company for a long time, it also pushes me. It excites me to try to achieve that level myself.
And there's a level of responsibility that you now have that you didn't have when you were starting out, because you have done it. You have figured out how to find a relationship, cultivate that, turn that into a marriage, all while keeping this big career that is not normal for most people. And that responsibility definitely happens when you're on stage. Do you feel that? Do you know that young girls are looking up to you when you're out there and they're thinking, that's who I want to be?
I do, because I was one of those young girls. I was one of those young girls looking at, our guest artists that were coming in, our professional dancers that were coming in to perform with my small school in Lubbock, Texas. So I think about that a lot. I think about the role model that I want to be. I don't know that I always achieve that, but I hope that I can be a good role model for the young dancers.
Well, anytime you have been here, you've been the ultimate professional, ultimate role model. And I do hope that my daughter gets to meet other women like you to learn from, so she's not always like, oh, well, my mom said it. No, other people are saying it too. And that's what I want to talk to our viewers at home about too. Just if they do decide to put their daughter or son into ballet, what are some things that they will take away from that?
Oh my gosh, ballet is so all-encompassing. I mean, you're not just learning physical moves. You're learning a lot of mental toughness, which I have been talking to my own students about recently. You are learning Discipline, as we talked about, perseverance, resilience, time management, because it can be really demanding training for ballet. So I know like our older students who are very serious, they're kind of on the pre-professional track, they're tackling high school. High school is not easy. They're tackling their homework while still being at the studio basically from 5 to 9. And then they go home and they do their homework and they get up and they go to school and they do it all again the next day. So I think you're learning a lot. You're learning how to work with other people. You're learning how to handle disappointment. You're learning how to hold yourself regardless of how maybe you feel internally. Learning respect to your peers and your teachers. That's a big thing you learn in ballet is respect. Like I said, it's just all encompassing. You're learning so much. And even if you don't decide to take this on as a professional career, these are all lessons you can use in any aspect of your life.
And you and I had a conversation with one of my coworkers here. You taught her daughter for years in ballet, and this young woman is just a rock star in life. She's brilliant, very, very smart. She is in medical school right now, trained with you for a very long time. And my coworker shared with the two of us that a professor, a doctor in her medical school was kind of going through her resume and was like, okay, you were a dancer, what? And the way it came off was really downplayed it. And this young woman stepped up for herself and goes, no, I was a dancer with the Saint Louis Ballet, and I learned discipline, I learned respect, and could just go through all of the characteristics that she learned through that will pay off dividends as a physician that you absolutely wouldn't learn in maybe other sports or life experiences.
Yeah, she is an incredible young woman, and I'm really honored to have taught her. And I mean, it's something that I've used too in job interviews when I was interviewing I worked at a makeup store. I was like, no, like I can manage all of this because here's, all of the things that I did to manage, my career as a dancer.
What do you see the future for you?
For me, I hope that ballet is always in my life. I don't think I can dance forever. I would love to, but I don't know if that's feasible. I love choreographing. I love being in the studio. I've been doing it for a long time, so being in the studio is where I really feel at home. I love working with dancers who are on that professional track, who are auditioning for jobs. I think that's kind of my favorite age group to work with.
Something that I would assume that you have seen is how much ballet is able to push the envelope, just like we've seen, you mentioned Simone Biles before. You and I grew up watching the Magnificent Seven, Dominique Dawes, Mucciano, Shannon Miller, amazing gymnast. But what they were doing in '96 is nowhere close to what Simone is doing today. I think we're seeing that in the Winter Olympics, too, with Lindsey Vonn's comeback, unfortunately, what just happened to her. But I would have to imagine the ballet that you saw as a little girl and some of the ballet things that you are doing now are very different and much harder now.
Very different. It's really interesting. I will say one of the hardest ballets I've ever done is called Square Dance. It's by George Balanchine. So it was choreographed ages ago. And I think it premiered in, they were dancing this in like the 50s, and it's still one of the hardest ballets. But I do think that technique has evolved. So dancers look a little bit maybe cleaner when they're performing it. But that is something really interesting about particularly George Balanchine, that his ballets really stand the test of time. And it's such an honor to be in a company with a director who worked directly with George Balanchine. And he again is bringing in his ballets for us to perform. So I think that's something that's really cool. But yes, there's other ballets that are just, so innovative and so new and so challenging and exciting for the dancers to perform.
As we do wrap up this conversation, why should someone spend part of their Valentine's weekend with you and the entire company at the Two Hill?
I would love it if people came to see our beautiful show. I think that you'll leave feeling so energized. I think that whether you're going on a date, you're bringing your family, you're bringing your friend, you're doing this as a Galentine's, you're going to have a great night of seeing some really beautiful dance on stage. And if you've never seen the ballet, there's 4 different ballets. So if you don't like the first one, you might like the second one. If you don't like that one, you'll definitely like the third one. So you get to see sort of the range of what we do as dancers. And actually, there's no tutus or tiaras in this performance, so you get to see a different side of ballet.
But still okay for if you want to take the family too.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yes, please bring the family. I love when the kids are, dancing in the aisles quietly, but, I love knowing when people love our shows.
And I think it's nice getting to know you more, because every other time you have been here, you have been in your full outfit, the shoes, the pulled back hair, everything just looks perfect. And it's nice to realize that the ballet is more accessible. On stage, yes, it does look like total perfection, but you're still real human beings too, who have struggles just like the rest of us do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's one of the coolest things about live art, I think, is that when you're going, we don't know what we're going to do when we get on stage. We have a plan, but, you never know what's going to happen when you're on stage. And I think as an audience member, that's what makes it so exciting to go see a live performance.
And as we do wrap up this conversation, is there any piece of advice that if you could go back in time and tell yourself that you would give yourself about what the future is going to hold?
What a great question. I think I would tell myself not to take it so personally most of the time. Don't take it to heart and keep going.
But when you're a young girl, that's really hard, especially when you were sending out all of your DVDs to different places and you don't hear back. It's hard to not take it personally.
It is. It really is. But, this career is like any other, where it is a little unexpected, and it's very, very subjective.
Mm-hmm.
There's no right or wrong sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations on a beautiful career, 18 years here in St. Louis, a Texas girl. And I couldn't help but notice, I hope this was intentional, when you raised your arms, is that fringe?
It is.
Is that a shout out to your Texas roots?
Yeah, my boots.
And the boots?
Fringe.
Okay, you can take the girl out of Texas, but you can't take Texas out of the girl. I think, though, 18 years in, you're officially a St. Louisan.
I am. I've actually lived here longer than I lived, because I moved when I was 17.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We will keep you. Please don't go anywhere. And friends, we actually do want you to go somewhere. We want you to go to the 2 Hill this weekend, on Saturday, on Valentine's Day, 2 shows, and then on Sunday, 1 show. Call It Love. Where can people get tickets?
MetroTix or stlouisballet.org.
And about how long is the entire show?
I believe it runs 2 hours with an intermission.
Okay. You are going to love it. You are going to be dazzled. Perfect thing for Valentine's Day. Lori Wilson with the St. Louis Ballet, thank you for being here today. We hope you join us again on Thursday on Live with Laura, where I am going to be sitting down with a couples therapist just ahead of Valentine's Day. So if there's anything you want me to ask her, you can leave your questions. I think my husband is very nervous about this conversation, but I'm looking forward to it. Happy Valentine's Day to you.
Thank you so much.
And friends at home, until next time, thank you for listening, thank you for learning, and thanks for being live with Laura.